Let's now double click, as it were, on the term AI. This is a very broad umbrella term, and it includes within it the ability of a system to learn from examples to make predictions, identifying complex features in unstructured information, which might be photographs, videos, or text, and lastly, creating entirely new content. Each of these represents a subdomain. Learning from examples to make predictions, well, that's machine learning. We will, of course, talk about this in more detail, but imagine a classic example of machine learning, a piece of software which recognizes whether an email is spam or not, as an example, or a model to estimate house prices based on past sales. These are prototypical examples of classification and regression, which are classical problem types in machine learning. Then, let's consider identifying complex features in video, audio, or documents. This involves recognizing patterns within that kind of unstructured information and using that in order, for instance, to distinguish faces, objects, or spoken commands. This is deep learning. This too is a topic which we will be studying in detail. Finally, creating entirely new content in the form of text, images, music, and other forms is generative AI. Generative AI is different from discriminative AI, which we've discussed in the context of machine learning and deep learning. It's really important here to understand that these three terms are closely interrelated. You can think of these as nested dolls, like the Russian Matryoshka dolls. Here, for instance, is a diagrammatic representation of how these techniques relate to each other. The outermost circle represents the broadest possible realm of intelligent systems. AI here refers to systems which try and emulate what humans do: reasoning, decision making, and problem solving. Within that, machine learning represents systems which learn from past examples or change based on data. This is what enables predictions and smart decisions. Then we get deep learning. One special call out about deep learning. The other circles shown here, AI, ML, and Gen AI, all refer to what the system does. The deep learning circle, however, refers to how the system is built or how it does what it does. Deep learning refers to a specific type of architecture and problem solution using neural networks. Neural networks are inspired by the human brain, and they have come to specialize in processing unstructured inputs such as images, speech, and raw text. And then within the broad umbrella of deep learning, we have generative AI systems. These take deep learning to their current highest form. By looking at a lot of existing data and understanding the structure, Gen AI systems are able to generate new content. So imagine a system which analyzes thousands of paintings and then, as a result, learns how to paint a new masterpiece. That's the generative AI system. As of right now, pretty much all Gen AI systems are built using deep learning. But again, remember that deep learning is an implementation technique. And so you can imagine that in future, we might have Gen AI systems which are built using a different underlying implementation. With this big picture understanding, let's now focus on machine learning for a moment. A machine learning based system studies historical examples and learns from those examples to recognize patterns. As a result, the system can then predict outcomes or classify new information. Please note that not all ML systems only focus on prediction or classification. There are also other types of uses to which we can put ML systems. All of them will study historical data and learn to recognize patterns from it. Then deep learning systems are a type of machine learning system. These make use of layered networks where the layers consist of neurons, as they are known, and these deep learning systems are specialized in sifting through raw inputs such as photos or audio in order to identify complex features. So for instance, they will be able to recognize individual voices in an audio soundtrack or recognize faces or contours of objects in images. And then finally, there are generative AI based systems. These, which currently are implemented almost exclusively using deep learning, first have to be exposed to vast amounts of that unstructured content. And after that, these systems can generate fresh content, which is similar to the content which they have seen before, but it's not identical to it. We are now going to study each of these types of systems in detail. In fact, each of these terms accounts for about 15 to 20% of the weightage on this OCI AI certification. So let's keep going and remember that all of them fall under artificial intelligence.